I got a number of panicked messages the last couple of days from people saying, James Gunn is saying he's not going to do lesser known characters anymore. I'm like, what? And like some people like really upset too. Like he says he's not going to do lesser known characters anymore. I thought that sounds odd. This is the guy who gave us Polka Dot Man. And this is the guy who's doing a series on Peacemaker. Who had heard of Peacemaker before he did it? This is like, that doesn't sound quite right. Well, what they were saying to me was kind of partially true, because James Gunn was recently talking about the project The Authority, which they had said they were doing some development on. They never officially announced the project, but they said they were developing it, and is now saying that it might not happen. And then he made a comment about lesser known characters that everybody was kind of freaking out about. But let's read what he actually said. So this comes to us from Superhero Hype, who wrote, when asked if The Authority could shift from a film to a series, Gunn responded, who knows? And explained, I'm probably not going to do, listen to this, I'm probably not going to do certain movies with characters who the audiences don't know. It's harder to get people in the theater for that kind of thing. Let me read that again and listen very specifically to the words he chooses. I'm probably not going to do certain movies with characters who audiences don't know. It's harder to get people in the theaters for that kind of thing. Now, when people were writing to me the last couple of days in the notes and the messages I was getting about James Gunn says he's not going to do unknown characters anymore. He gave us Guardians of the Galaxy. Doesn't he know that worked? Well, a couple of things to point out. James Gunn did not say he's not going to do unknown characters. He said, I'm not going to do certain ones that the audiences don't know. That's important. That's one word, certain, but it changes the entire meaning and context of what he's saying. Saying he's not going to do certain ones is a far cry from saying, I'm not going to do any unknown characters, which of course would be totally outside of his normal operating procedure. He totally loves doing unknown characters. But the other thing I want to point out is this. Guardians of the Galaxy did not come in a vacuum. They didn't launch the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn was able to bring Guardians of the Galaxy, a pretty much unknown group to most people who aren't hardcore comic book nerds, because the universe was already firmly established. They already had Thor movies, and they already had Captain America, and they already had Iron Man, and they already had Hulk, and they already had Black Widow, and they already had all these characters firmly established with characters that the audiences recognized, and then he was able to bring in Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's not inconsequential that James Gunn decided to launch the DC Cinematic Universe with Superman. I don't think that's a small thing, and I don't think that's inconsequential. I also don't think it's a small thing that he's then going to follow that up with Supergirl, and then Man of Tomorrow, and that Clayface at some point. Not a super popular, well-known character, but anybody who follows Batman knows it. It's going to be within that context that I think that he is going to introduce and give headline movies to some lesser-known characters. Mm-hmm. So again, Rob, I think there was a lot of panic going on over nothing. But by the way, he's not wrong, right? Like, look at what just happened with Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is an incredible movie, but it's all characters really most people never heard of, don't know. Unless you watch Disney Plus, you've probably never even seen some of them. You saw a couple of them as backup characters in Marvel movies. So I think he's correct in saying you can't just do all unknown characters. The audiences aren't going to come. But he didn't say he's not going to do any of them. And if he follows his standard procedure, he's going to establish the universe first with characters like Batman, with characters like Wonder Woman, with characters like Superman. And then we're going to see some more unknown guys in there. So I don't know, Rob, you had a chance to see James Gunn's comments. What was your impression of them?
Well, like you were just alluding to, I think he's exactly right. I mean, you can't get people to roll out to see characters that they don't know and expect to do the kind of box office these movies need to justify their existence. Now, everyone's always going to point to Guardians of the Galaxy and say, but Rob, John, no one knew who Guardians of the Galaxy was either. Yes, but one, you had the MCU established and it was at the height of its powers.
Yeah.
Two, you had somebody like James Gunn, this interesting character that people knew who was directing this movie. But the thing about Guardians of the Galaxy, the concept worked because people love movies like Star Wars. So the concept in connection to the people they cast in those roles, Zoe Saldana coming off the Avatar movies, Chris Pratt with his television, people knew him from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Right.
So they had a cast of people playing these characters that were draws in themselves. So there was a confluence of events that came together, and then the movie just looked fun. Now, could James Gunn do that again? Yes. But as the head of the studio, he also has to think, okay, we have these core characters that we can deal with first. I mean, as much as I would love to see a full-blown authority movie, that, if somebody had a great script, who'd be great directing an authority movie?
Who's that?
Zack effing Snyder. Because that whole film, if you go back and you look at the original authority books, they were these big, epic, wide screen. It was exactly what Zack Snyder was made to do. I'm not saying that they're going to have that happen. But the comics were like that. The comics were Zack Snyder before Zack Snyder was Zack Snyder. And I would go see that. But nobody knows who the authority is. And they can make that movie as cool as ever. And you can have the engineer come back. But nobody knows Midnighter and Apollo. Nobody knows them. And they might be the coolest actors. You could get Glenn Powell to play Apollo, and you could get whoever badass to play Midnighter. Nobody knows who they are. Well, they're the gay Superman and Batman. Well, that might not really be a draw for the biggest movie-going audience. I'd go and see it because I love those characters.
But most people don't know them.
Don't
Now,
know them.
You can get away with that if they get 6 or 7 films in and
Yes.
firmly established, like the Guardians of the Galaxy pattern, right? Then you can do something like that. But I don't think you can do it right out of the gate.
No, and then if you look what the MCU did when the Guardians of the Galaxy show up in Infinity War, they're great. So they were able to interact.
Yeah.
So you have to buy in, you have to. But this doesn't make me, I don't get upset by it. I think that what James Gunn's doing is carefully building. I like that the fact that the Green Lantern Corps and the Green Lanterns are part of, I've always loved Green Lantern ever since I was a kid. I love seeing that he's making them a part of the core of the DC universe. So I think he's on the right path.
Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Zapier. One of the biggest game changers of the past year has been AI. But let's be real, just talking about AI doesn't actually make your day any more productive. What does make it more productive is finding tools to put AI to work for you. And that's where Zapier comes in. Zapier is the easiest way to take AI and plug it directly into the apps and processes that you're already using every day. No IT bottlenecks, no complexity, just results. For me, it's been about saving time on repetitive stuff so I can focus on the work that matters and I actually enjoy. And it's not just me. Over 3.4 million companies are already using Zapier to streamline everything from sales and marketing to IT and HR. With their AI orchestration platform, you can connect top AI models like ChatGPT or Claude right into the apps you already use. So whether it's automatically enriching leads, coaching your sales team, or even resolving IT tickets, Zapier makes it simple. Guys, join the 3.4 million companies already automating with Zapier and transform how you work with Zapier and AI. Get started for free by visiting zapier.com/Campea. That's ZAPIER.com/Campea. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? James Gunn saying, hey, listen, there's going to be certain ones I don't do if the audiences don't know them because audiences, it's tough to get them into the theaters if they don't know the characters. It certainly wasn't him ruling out doing any unknown characters. Again, right now he's got Peacemaker going, for heaven's sakes. Anyway, whatever you thought about his comments, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.